Hello, my name is Santiago Cabrera from 11A. According to Merriam-Webster, rhetoric is defined as the art or skill of speaking or writing formally and effectively, especially as a way to persuade or influence people. This language may not be honest or reasonable. This type of oral expression is present since the beginning of civilization. It was used to maintain control on population, like political speeches made by kings. Also, rhetoric is directly connected to the manipulation of people, in order to make them do what the elite desire. As it was said before, there are many ways on applying rhetoric. Some people can use it with a peaceful purpose, but some others can use it to make people do incorrect and unreasonable things. The purpose of this video is to compare the use of persuasive rhetoric between Hitler's political speech, The Triumph of the Will, and Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream. In first place, Adolf Hitler is going to be analyzed. In order to have a better comprehension of why he expresses like he does, it is necessary to analyze the context of the speech. This speech was made in the year 1935. 19 months after the Nazi Party had reached to the highest power in Germany. This country was nearly in bankruptcy because of the First World War, in which Germany was defeated and was forced to pay all the damage of the war. So a feeling of anger and revenge was present in almost every citizen of the country. After this, Hitler saw an opportunity to make famous his idea. So, using all the anger and all those negative feelings that people had, he managed to persuade them in order to make what he wanted them to do. So it can be said that political rhetoric is used throughout his speeches in order to manipulate the masses to a certain extent in which these ones will agree with everything he says. After seeing this, it is important to clarify what were his techniques in order to achieve this. First, he used a very common, simple, and direct language in order to make common people to understand the message, using short phrases with a lot of emotive and powerful words and phrases. To capture people's attention, he started his speech speaking with a low voice, then step by step, his voice started to acquire deepness, up to the point that he will raise his voice until he's almost screaming. Everything accompanied with a lot of gestures while he led people to a level of excitement which increased the message. This not only appears in his voice, but also on the content of the speeches. For example, he starts with the Sixth Party Congress is coming to an end. This evidences a common introduction, but at the end of the speech he says, "Long live the German, long live Germany, long live the party." This shows that he evolves in the speech from a normal and calm tone to a more complex and emotional speech. Another technique that he used was to involve everyone in his speech, making the idea that there is no personal thought but a collective thought, and what mattered was the society. This can be evidenced in the speech when he says Germany is Hitler and the party is Hitler. In last place, his intonation had a very important effect on what he said because he uses a particular kind of melody in which he emphasizes important words or phrases to make people aware that what he is saying is important. So we can conclude that Hitler uses his speeches to persuade people on believing on the party and making him the most important person in all Germany. He uses an active tone of voice in order to catch people's attention, and he gets involved with the masses. On the other hand, the rhetoric of Martin Luther King Jr. is going to be analyzed. This speech was delivered in the year 1963, a time period in which African American people fought for their rights of freedom and equality, because there was a huge apartheid in society, which polarized black and white people in two sectors. In this era, racism was common, and black people didn't have the same right as white people. So Martin Luther King Jr. fought for the civil rights of African American people, and he delivered this historical speech in order to make people understand what is going on and why and how must be changed. In this speech, he uses a lot of literary figures such as metaphor, alliteration, and hyperbole. The effect of metaphor in this speech is to make people understand what the point is and give examples in a way everyone can understand it. An example of this is by the wives of segregation and chains of discrimination. This also has an effect of exaggeration and a repetition of the idea that black people is discriminated. The use of alliteration has the purpose of emphasizing on the idea that the situation that black people is suffering is unacceptable and it need a change. The most common example is the repetition of the phrase "I have a dream" or "100 years later." These both phrases show that a change is needed. If we analyze his oral technique, we find that his tone of voice doesn't suffer a lot of changes throughout all the speech. The voice of King maintains natural and he speaks neutrally in order to give an impression of pacifism and peacefulness. Another technique he uses, that Hiler also does, is to involve the masses on the speech in order to make them feel what he feels and persuade them more easily. And also, when he involves the people, he makes them feel all just like one. So there is no individuality. We can conclude that Martin Luther King Jr. uses a more calm and pacific way to get the attention of people. Well, now I'm going to talk about my personal perspective of this. I chose this option because I think that the way that politicians or important people talk to us, it is important to analyze it in order to know what their intentions are. Also, I chose this topic because I like to connect the historical context and the relevance history has within people, so that the new ideas come and change the way we perceive reality. For me, it is important to apply some of the rhetorical characteristics in my daily life in order to obtain what I want, but in a legal form. Well, thank you.